Hello and welcome back, and in this video we're going to be covering Python inputs, basic type conversion, and arithmetic operations. If you haven't been following along with my previous videos, I recommend you go back and watch them and come back to this one once you're done. And by the way, I recommend you watch to the end of the video where I have a short announcement to make. Anyway, so let's begin. So inputs, what are inputs? Well, inputs are a very useful thing to have in your program, especially if you want to take user feedback, or if you want to give your program commands, or you want your user to give your program commands. You want some way of giving inputs. That might be whether in a GUI application where you have buttons to press, like let's say here, boom, I can press a button, run task and the like. Or if you have a console applications, which we're covering now, you can have an input function here. So the input function in Python basically allows you to take inputs from the terminal, and what you can do with the input function is that you can actually store it in a variable so that Python does not forget that input. So say we have input, so I have some setup here. I have input is equal to name is equal to input, and what you can actually do with the input function is that you can actually pass in a prompt, and the prompt is a question. So I can pass in what is your name, and when I run this, what happens at Python will actually prompts. The first thing it does is that it prints that out. So it prints out what is your name and Tawaza, and the name is stored in the variable, and then it gets printed out onto the screen. And the input function doesn't only take in the normal strings. You can also pass in formatted strings. Yeah, you can also pass in formatted strings, and also 3-quote strings and like. Yeah, so that's it with inputs. Now say you wanted to make a simple calculator, which you can actually do right now. So we have all we have to do is say a is equal to input, then enter first num, yeah, there, and just copy this, paste, and then just b, enter second num, and then we want to add these two numbers together. So c is equal to a plus b, and then all we have to do is just print out c. So c, and once we run that, enter first num, we have 1, enter second num, we have 2, and then it gives us 12. Well, why does it do that? Well, this is because the input function actually gives us our answer as a string and not a number. So no matter what you enter into the question you're prompted with the input, so here first num, we can enter an entire paragraph, and since automatically the input function always returns your input as a string, it will bring that out as a string. And what happens when you add two strings together is that you're basically concatenating them while you're joining the two strings together. So basically whatever we enter here, first number, be it 1 million, and here 1, what Python does is to just actually concatenate them and put them together, since it's reading it as a sentence and not as numerical values. So what can you do to actually change that? This is where we go into type conversion, where you can actually convert one data type to another. So there are 5 main type conversions we can use in Python. So the first one is int, and what int basically does is that it converts a string into a data type. It actually takes in 2 parameters, and if you don't know what parameters are, basically these are just things you add into a function. So the first parameter here is basically just a string, You can also add in a base. So let's say we wanted to add binary numbers together and then print out the base 2 value. You can say just as base is equal to 2. So if we wanted to add binary numbers together, that's all we have to do. And so what Python will do is that it will convert that string into an integer value, but I'm not it's natively it's base 10. So I have 1 there, I have 2, and it gives us the correct answer this time, which is 3. Not only can you convert into int, the second conversion type is float. Is float here, and what this does, it actually converts it into a decimal number. So if we have here 1.5 and then 2.5, oh 0.5, sorry, and then Python there will print out 2.5. So this allows us to add float, or to turn our string into a floating point number instead of a bare integer. We can also convert characters, single characters, into integers, so using the ORD function, and this will basically just convert whatever character we put in here. Say S, H, any character we pass in here, it will convert it into an integer value. So say I print ORD here, and then just pass in G. What it does is it prints out 103. And if we check an ASCII table, if you go online, just Google ASCII table, it will bring you a bunch of results. And if we look for G, as you can see here, G is 103, which Python has given us here. There are also a lot of different characters you can pass in here. You can pass in some of alphanumerical characters and like, even strings. So say exclamation mark there and run. That's 33. If I check, exclamation mark 33. You can also convert numbers into hexadecimal numbers, and hexadecimal numbers are just another way of counting. So what you have to do is just put a hex, and then you can pass in an integer. So 25, and if I run that, we get 0x19, which if I check in my ASCII table here, 0x19 and hexadecimal values, that's 19 there. So 25 in hex, it's 19. We also have oct, which changes your integer into an oct string. I'm not quite familiar with this one because I don't usually use it, but we have an integer here, and then if we run that, it turns it into an oct, which is 31. I can't seem to find it on my ASCII table, I'm not sure why, but anyway, let's move on. Oh, and by the way, before I go any further, we also have other type conversions, such as converting a list in such as tuple, dict, and list. Basically, this allows you to convert strings of data into either a tuple, a list, or a dictionary. Don't worry about that, we'll cover it in a later video. So, operations. What are arithmetic operations? Well, arithmetic operations are just constructs that let you manipulate values. So already familiar, we've been using the addition sign, and what addition does is that it basically just adds two numbers together. But what we also have is subtract. So basically the four operators we have addition, subtraction, multiplication, which is indicated by the star there, and then division, which is indicated by a /, and these are pretty much self-explanatory. Addition adds, subtraction subtracts, multiplication multiplies, and then division divides. But we also have three other three others I would like to show you. The first is modulus, which is the percent sign there. And what modulus does is that it divides two numbers together, just like the normal division, but it will give us only the remainder. So say to print, and then 5 modulus 2, 5 and 2, 5 modulus 2, and if I run that, yeah, it gives out 1, because 5 divided by 2 is 2, remainder 1. So the modulus function actually spits out the remainder. Then we also have the exponent, and the exponent value basically just is to the power. So we have 5 to the power 2, which is 5 squared, and 5 squared is 25, as you can see here. So double multiplication signs here actually spit out the exponent. Then we also have floor division, and what floor division does is it gives us so it basically just gives us the whole number. So if you run that, 2. Since if we divide 5 by 2, it gives us 2.5, but what it will do is that it will omit the point there and then just spit out 2. So if I only did a single division here and printed this out, we get 2.5, but the floor division I will only spit out the 2 there. We also have more complicated mathematics operations, which are contained in the math module. And modules are basically just extra functionalities you can add into it. So import math, and what this does, it has different it has multiple math functions. You can find in algebra, calculus, and the like, even trigonometry. So let's say I wanted to print out the value of pi, so print math dot pi there, sorry, the icon, and then if I run that, we get the value of pi. So the math module basically just contains a lot of mathematical operations. You have sine, you have logarithms, basically anything you can find in a mathematics textbook, you can find it in the math module, which I'll cover in a future video, where I'll be explaining what modules do. And so we've reached the end of the video. So all I wanted to announce was that well, I've been thinking of extra content to add onto the channel, and I actually comprised the list. So the first is well, electronics basics, because I've been thinking of actually just teaching some electronics as well as some automation with Python, because Python is actually very good when it comes to automating things. So like day-to-day operations with your computer, you know, those little boring tasks, you can actually automate them with Python. So I've been thinking of adding tutorials on that. Also programming with the Arduino. Yeah, Arduino basics, if you've never used it, or if you have one but you want to learn, I'll also be covering that. Also Unity, C#. So in case you've never heard of Unity, it's a game engine, and if you're interested in learning programming for games, I can also cover that, and a lot of other stuff. So I will be adding these to the channel, and all you have to do is that you comment on which one you would actually like me to cover on the channel, leave a subscribe, and then just like this video. And if we get to around 50 subs, I'll actually start covering the most popular ones. So the one that most people request is the one I'll cover if we get to around 50 subs. Thank you very much, and have a good day.